Are we ready to go, Josh? Okay. And again, so this is being taped, which you would normally be doing to put on the YouTube, but you're going to be taping it for Marlene, is that right?
No, this part will just be recorded on YouTube.
Ah, so she'll have to watch YouTube to figure out the. Oh, okay. All right. Are we ready then? I'd like to call our meeting of November 24th, 2020 to order. It's just past 7. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the Board of Education, we are meeting on the traditional and ceded territories of the Comox First Nation. We would like to thank them for the privilege of living on their land and the gift of working with their children. I'd also like to welcome our new Secretary Treasurer, Brenda Hooker, to her first official board meeting with us, and we're very glad to have you here in this disembodied form. And I'm just noting to any members of the public who may be watching, or hopefully some of our partner groups, the reps, and of course the community will be wanting to spend their evening with us, that we have returned to the online format, that we are all meeting through Zoom rather than meeting in real human time, and then sharing it, because we do want to be sure that we are following the public health orders and minimizing any kind of gatherings that we're able to get together. This is an essential meeting, but it's one that we can do without bringing people together in one place. And we think that is a good thing to do to make sure that it's safe for the businesses, the essential services, our schools, and our hospitals to be able to keep operating. So our first item here is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions or or changes from the trustees? All right, then hearing none, could I have a recommendation, a motion to adopt the agenda that we have here before us? Trustee Hawksby, Trustee Howe, thank you very much. All in favor? Great. I'll remember to go on any opposed basis. That will hopefully make it easier. So on the next item that we have our board meeting minutes from the October 27th regular public board meeting. Have you had a chance to look them over and see if there were any errors or omissions, any changes to be made to those minutes? All right, I don't see any. Could I have a motion to accept the minutes of October 27th? Trustee Waite, Trustee Hawksby, thank you. All in favor? Oh, wait a minute. I just said that I would do any opposed. So anyone opposed to adopt? Thank you very much. Those are adopted then. And old business, we have none. Report on the in-camera meeting. We discussed some IT, some legal and other issues. For chair's report, I don't have an extensive report other than to say that the numbers, we have been discussing how concerned the rising numbers are and how we are, I think the theme for all of us at the school district is that every effort is being made to maintain education. That is a priority that's been identified and one that we support, and being able to have our kids in school is important, to be able to provide supports for them in other ways if needed, but the majority of students are back in our schools, and we do everything we can to keep them safe, but we absolutely are begging for the public support to follow the limitations and the measures that have been brought forward, and to help us to get that level back down. So that is, as the board, all I can say, we are busy, our staff are busy, all of us as trustees are busy with various meetings, and our BC School Trustees Association annual conference coming up this weekend, all being done online. So we work hard to make sure that the education is as good as it can be, and we are asking for support from the public. That's all for now. And we have an exciting presentation. How is that going to work? We'll be having a screen share at this point. The compost pickup proposal.
Yes, we will. I just want to point out to the board, starting on page 8 of your package and going to page 23, was a capstone project submitted by Julia Youngworth. Many of you will recall that in the spring, she had actually completed that project and approached the board to present her composting pickup proposal. And then of course, COVID hit and we were unable to continue with that. So she was hoping to do it in the fall, and then she got busy with her post-secondary schooling, and 2 young people from Isfeld took up the mantle. Maybe one is from Vanier as well, but Ella Odeker and Nayland Goosen, who might be familiar to you, created this video. So we're going to watch this video. It's about 12 minutes long, and it's in the form of a PowerPoint that they are reading and speaking about. So I'm going to attempt to share that now. And if I can't pull it off, we've always got Josh to help out if we need him.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, are people seeing that on their screen?
Yep.
No or yes? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I am.
Here we go.
High School District 71, this is our compost proposal for a compost pickup for School District 71.
The key factor to the success of waste reduction and diversion initiatives at the school studies was consistent engagement and support from teachers, administrators, and board level officials. From the Ontario Schools Waste Audit Report 2017.
And acknowledgement. Our organizing group respectfully acknowledges that we are managing this event in the unceded traditional territory of the Comox First Nation, made up historically of the Eksan, Huntlac, and Comox peoples. This location has served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst
Have we lost the sound?
We're losing the sound.
reflect on how we have benefited from this land at the expense of Indigenous peoples and ways that we can further commit to reconciliation and decolonization.
And now for a little bit about us. My name's Ella Oldacre.
And I'm Nayland Goosen.
We've both been co-leaders of the Environment Club for a little bit over a year. I'll start by giving a little backstory to myself. I'm a grade 10 student at Marcusville. I started to get into activism when I joined the Isfeld Environment Club 2 years ago, but I've been passionate about the environment forever. I've also recently been involved with starting a group called Comox Youth Climate Council. We're a group of youth from around the valley who are focused on doing everything we can to safeguard the future of our planet. I believe the climate crisis is the #1 issue facing our world. My hope is to create change in our community, inspire other communities, provinces, and countries.
Now a bit about myself. I too have been passionate about the environment for a long time, as my parents are big enthusiasts as to the environment. I've been with Environment Club since grade 8, and in grade 9, I became the leader. That year, I started the youth community group, Youth Environmental Action, an activist group started by a peaceful protest me and my friends organized on March 15, 2019. And yeah, we got involved with our municipal politicians, our MLA and MP. We organized many protests as well. I've also been involved with Isfeld's Internet Club since grade 8. During my time with Environment Club, we volunteered with many organizations, main among them Project Watershed, We've done many cleanups, and we've organized campaigns and events such as Eco Fair, Bike to School Week, and of course, our tree planting and composting initiatives. This proposal was written by Vanier student Julia Gunforth as part of what became a district-wide initiative between our 3 high school environment clubs, on behalf of the students, staff, and parents of the Comox Valley School District. The time has come for a compost pickup program in the Comox Valley, in Comox Valley schools. Our research has shown that a program like this will not only have a positive environmental impact, it will save the district money. Compost pickup is reasonable, feasible, and profitable both now and in the future.
Accountability. In 2019, the board identified sustainability as one of their top 5 goals in their 5-year strategic plan. Composting is a massive step in this direction and will showcase the Comox Valley School District as a leader in sustainability. In 2008, the BC Ministry of Education released a document called Sustainable Schools Best Practices Guide, which promotes eco-friendly practices in schools and provides tips and education for a net zero emission school. A section in this guide is focused on waste reduction. The report suggests analyzing your school's garbage, finding out how much different waste removal systems cost, and provide strategies for waste reduction. A waste audit is the ideal way to get all this information. It was planned for spring 2020, but due to school shutdown as a result of COVID-19, we weren't able to complete this audit. As a substitute, we have based this proposal on waste audits from other school districts.
So, what's in our garbage? Without performing a waste audit, it's hard to create an accurate picture of what exactly is in our school garbage cans, but we have attempted to create a picture for you of what we would expect to find. We know that we have food waste entering our school's garbage, but don't know exactly how much. Here are a few photos of our waste receptacles. As you can see in the washrooms, they overflow with paper towels every single day. As you can see from these compostable paper towels take up most of the space in the washroom garbage. There's also a large quantity of food and food preparation waste being thrown in the garbage cans. Paper towels, meat, scraps from cooking classes, school lunch leftovers, and more. It's safe to say that much of our current waste could be composted. BC Ferries is a well-known example of a large institution that makes the effort to compost washroom waste / paper towels. We believe the School District 71 can do it too.
Current composting in SD71 schools. Currently, the only compost programs that exist in high schools are run by staff and students of green teams or environment clubs. Our local high schools produce dozens of garbage bins full of compostable waste every week. If we had the proper facilities, high schools could divert many bins of garbage from the landfill every week. Any composting program that has been tried in the past has been successful, but only for as long as the teacher or group of students were at the school. If composting is to become a part of School District 71 culture, it's imperative that there's a system change. This proposal is a plan for that change.
Trailblazing a compost program for high school sounds extremely intimidating and taxing, so luckily we aren't the first to do it. These are receptacles from Richmond School District that they use for their waste. Stations are placed in hallways with no localized bins in classrooms. Other excellent examples are UVic and Seattle Public Schools, and are cited in the document sent to you in preparation for this evening.
In North America alone, food waste takes up 39 million cubic meters of landfill space annually, which is equivalent to 13 football stadiums. Our new regional landfill costs $16 million to build, and at the current rate of disposal, predictions are that the first cell, which is 11 football fields in area and 11 stories high, could fill completely within only 5 years. At this rate, the new cell will reach capacity in 2023, and another new cell will need to be built. These numbers are shocking. The cost benefits are that $2.6 billion are wasted in tipping fees annually. Locally, the tipping fee for a dumpster of recycling is $26 and garbage is $46. We contacted Dave Ross from Mterra and he estimated the tipping fee for compost to be around $35 per bin. By diverting waste from the garbage, we can save a large sum of money. Any money that will be invested into composting systems for bins and receptacles will quickly be recovered with the money saved on compost pickup. A cost-benefit analysis worksheet was created by BC Ministry of Education for this purpose. It can be found in Appendix A.
Environmental benefits. There are many reasons compostable material should not be sent to the landfill. When organic matter decomposes in landfills anaerobically, meaning without oxygen, it produces methane gas, which is 28 to 36 times more potent than carbon dioxide. Organic waste in the landfill can increase the risk of fires because it generates heat as it breaks down. Organic matter in landfills gets contaminated by plastics, chemicals, and other wastes, which means it turns into contaminated soil. When organic matter gets composted, it decomposes to produce beautiful soil, which can be used to grow new life. Educational benefits. School is all about learning how to live and interact with the world around you. How fitting would it be that students learn about the importance of composting in school? The good habits students will create by growing up with composting will impact them the rest of their lives. At first, it may seem like a grandiose task to get the whole high school on board with composting, but didn't it feel the same when the recycling program began in schools?
Findings from Waste Audit. Initially, we planned on doing a waste audit to assess exactly what's in our school waste, but due to COVID-19, we had to cancel the waste audit and won't be able to reschedule anytime soon. Anecdotally, after auditing classroom waste with hundreds of students in FD71 over the past 2 years, Comox Valley Regional District environmental educator Tina Willard-Stefan agrees that the numbers below provided by other districts are very similar in our community. It's possible that we don't have to do a full waste audit to move forward with this initiative, as relevant information is already available to us in other schools' waste audit data. As you can see below, compost is the biggest percentage of waste in schools.
What we propose. Writing this proposal has reinforced our conviction that moving forward with a composting system at our local high schools is the only responsible way forward. We propose a SD71 board strike a steering committee composed of trustees, school district staff, students, and community members. There are still many logistical questions, but we will move forward regardless. We also proposed a 1-year pilot program. We proposed this at the 3 high schools so that at the end of the year, a comprehensive review would take place. Challenges would be addressed, and after the necessary improvements have been made, the program would be expanded into elementary schools.
What this involves. This project will require investing in quality waste sorting receptacles. You can see the resources section of the report provided for examples. Educating staff and students about how to properly compost. Environment clubs and Comox Strathcona Waste Management are willing to play a part in this. Instructing the janitorial staff on how to manage the compost program so that they understand they're not doing more work, rather different. Work with the regional district to make it possible for school district organic waste to be processed at the new organics facility. Secure a contract with compost pickup companies. Some have already been researched and recommended in the report provided.
Thank you so much for your time. The students of School District 71 very much look forward to hearing the response of the board and hope it looks something like this. Thank you.
So there you have their comprehensive reports.
An excellent report. Thank you very much, Assistant Superintendent Manning. And I'm not sure if the students can still hear us at this point, but that was an excellent presentation. I really like to thank Ella and Nellen and Heidi Julia for the original work. Yeah, so I'm opening right now for comments. Trustee Caton.
Thank you, Chair. As you know, we normally don't make recommendations out of presentations that come to the board. What I was wondering is if we can refer this to our next board agenda for conversation and direction and decide what way we move forward on that one there. It's a great presentation, and that way in our next month's board agenda, we can look at it and we can decide what we'd like to go forward, that, Madam Chair. So I think that letter maybe to the students, thanking them for their presentation, and then at next month's board meeting, having a conversation, because I think it's well worthwhile. And I think they've got some really good options for us, but we have to have that conversation because there's some logistics for that.
Absolutely. Any other comments at this point? Yes, Trustee Frawley.
I'm actually just curious, and maybe this isn't the place right at this point, but I'm just wondering if there are grants available for those receptacles, or if that cost would be completely on our school district.
These are good questions. I think they're probably ones that we would start to, if it's our interest in pursuing this, you know what, I'm sure that we would be asking our operations to look at budget to do the pilot project, that equipment, and then taking into consideration what the savings by diverting our waste from garbage into that compost category. There's a certain savings. We might do some calculations, and I don't know if, well, we a few years ago, the Vista meeting was held in at Rock Bay School, I believe. Is that right, down in Souk? And they had quite an excellent system in place that they were using in their cafeteria. So there's lots of other districts that have done this work, and we wouldn't be inventing the wheel. It's certainly consistent with our strategic plan and initiatives that we would want to support and move forward. But yeah, I'd agree that we need to do a little bit of work, that if we could talk about it at our next meeting and then do some research into what the cost of feasibility is. We're probably a few steps away from just starting it next week, but definitely a good push. Are there any other trustees comments? And so, we won't put our staff on the, you know, on call right now for information, and we can bring it to our next meeting. I think that's a very good good possibility, and I appreciate the reminder to write the thank you note as well.
Chairperson?
Yes.
So just clarification on process. Would the recommendation currently is to have it referred to the next board meeting, but I was wondering if the facilities committee was perhaps a best place to start for a referral. Try and gather some information prior to the board meeting, but I'm not certain. I'm just wondering.
Can I answer that? Because
yeah.
I would say that we're just referring to the next board meeting. I think at agenda setting, when you guys sit down and look at the agenda, you guys can make the determination where it's going to. We just don't make a decision at the board meeting when it's presented to us. So I will leave that to you, Madam Chair, and the Secretary Treasurer and Superintendent determine where to place it for discussion at our next board meeting. So I'm not saying where to place it. You guys decide that, but I'd like us to discuss it. That's all.
Yeah. Trustee Howe, did you have a comment?
No.
Okay. No, I think that yeah, I'm hearing that we would have a bit of a discussion about it. And I mean, we have a couple of weeks before that next meeting in which there may be trustees coming forward with something more formal at that point, but not necessarily at this point making a request or a referral until we've had a bit more of a discussion. And we'll figure that out. Yes, Trustee Wade.
Yeah, I just wanted to extend my thanks to the students. They initially were going to come and do a presentation in person, and then they had to pivot and create a video. And it's amazing how much learning you do to learn new things because you have to. And but they certainly didn't look like it was new. They did an excellent job. And I'm glad we're going to have that for future.
Yeah.
That's one great thing about when we have to capture by video is that we'll have it to look back on. And so will they.
Absolutely. Yes. So I don't know if all of you caught that reference that Ella mentioned, a new Comox Environmental Council, which has come together with some student leadership there. And I recently got some information about that, and they're another, kind of coming out of, which had certainly, especially with COVID, some challenges maintaining the momentum and the connection between schools. But we've definitely got young leaders in the environment, and that we can be so proud of, and so looking forward to working with them in this and other capacities going forward. So does this need a motion to receive the presentation? Do we do that? No, thank you. Just excellent presentation, and definitely we got some good information to work on. Next item, the Education Committee meeting. Would you like to speak to that, Trustee Waite?
Yes, please. So we did not have a meeting in December, or we do not have a meeting scheduled for December. December's not over yet, almost. But our next meeting will happen on December the 8th, and the topic is NIDES Navigate. And quite likely, almost for sure, I would say, it will come to, we will be participating in a virtual format. But we're just waiting to be able to provide those links out for that meeting.
Yeah, so it seems very suitable for online distributed learning to be doing it in that way, and we'll see if they are as good at the presentation as our students were. And I think we've gone to a 2-month format for our education meetings right now for the foreseeable future. Is that right?
We've had discussion, and I think everybody's pretty much at capacity, and we don't want people doing work that people don't have the capacity to participate in, nor to do work that they don't have capacity to do. And so we thought by having the meetings every second month that we could still continue this work, but try to balance it given the times that we're in.
Well, and especially this one will be very interesting because the impact of growth in the program, as our district has picked up a good number of the students throughout the province that are wanting to be able to have distance learning. It'll be very interesting to hear how they've coped and what kind of reflections they have on it moving forward. So, okay, thank you very much. Now we're at strategic direction, and I'll turn it over to the superintendent to give us some updates and information. Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you very much for that. So the report I sent you and emailed my report to everyone. Initially, I thought we'd be face-to-face and be an opportunity to hand it out, but of course things change, and so I did email out. I just want to highlight a few things in the report that I sent out to everyone. And one of them, there's a theme between what I reported on and some of our district news that was included in the package, the agenda package. When you take a look at the district news, you see a really good example of how our schools have adapted to the changes that we've been forced to make. From Remembrance Day ceremonies where staff and students have changed from their traditional approaches and students taken huge leadership roles in creating their ceremonies, to students at Isfeld's Interact and GP Vanier's Interact Club giving back in terms of the collecting of food items and for the food bank in both sites, to EDAS project, which is going on again, 17 schools signing up. So you can see a common theme how our staff and students have responded. And another area I'd like to just highlight, for the last number of years, we've been very fortunate in our district. We've run a district musical, and that was a high school production where all 3 high schools and students from all, not only the high schools, from all our schools have participated in a production. And many of those students earning graduation credits. And of course, that involves all those students coming together after schools or on weekends, evenings, and rehearsing and putting on a fabulous production. We've had Xanadu, we've had School of Rock, we've had Heathers, just to name a few of them. Well, as you can appreciate, COVID has really thrown a bit of a spanner in the works in terms of what's going to happen, but the creativity of our folks never ceases to amaze me. This year, our director, Lori Mazie, will be offering a series of online workshops combining schools and in-person workshops at individual high schools. So she's going to be moving around conducting site-specific, so to keep those cohorts intact. And hopefully there is the hope that in later spring, there might be a possibility of sharing some of their work, whether it be at an outdoor venue, if we're to that point, or if not, we'll find another method. But this work, the challenge that was presented to the teachers, Jen Riley, our lead teacher, and our director, Lori Mazie, they looked at this, accepted the challenge, and thought, how can we still provide opportunities for our kids this year so that they don't miss out? And they've created something I think is really, really quite special. So congratulations to them, and we look forward to hearing from those students and those schools as the year progresses. The other thing I draw your attention on is I've given you a link in the notes to a poll that was done by Insights West. It was a provincial poll, and it dealt with how schools are doing during this crisis. And just some highlights here, and I would encourage people to go to the link, and we'll make sure it gets on our website so that parents can see that as well. Overall, parents are even more strongly in favor of how schooling has been handled relative to residents without children. So the support for how schools have handled it has gone up from 58% to 70%, which was interesting for parents. That's with parents who are British Columbians who have children. Their support went up stronger than those that didn't have children in schools, which was an interesting figure. Also, we saw an increase of people that felt the mix of online and in person would be preferred. So initially in September, it was 41% of the population felt that would be the preferred method. That has dropped to 32. And at the same time, the preference for in-learning has increased from 27% to 45. So we're seeing that shift. And that was also reflective of what we're seeing in our DL, where a number of our students were in DL, as we reported last board meeting. And we're noticing now that many of those students are coming back to their home schools. So there's some further information here for trustees to look at. Interesting around how approval around clear instructions on protocols and safety. 66 approval rating for how schools have handled it for the province, and locally, individual schools throughout the province, their communities felt even stronger of the protocols that they were in place, 72%. So again, it's an interesting poll just to provide a little bit of background. So I would encourage people to view that just for some information on how things are going. I also would like to take this opportunity to do a bit of a follow-up with the board around the decision that was made last spring, or it'd be early spring, around boundary and catchment decisions around key areas that occurred. So as we remember, there was quite a lengthy consultation process around around boundary configuration and school configurations and what we needed to do in terms of catchment areas. And there was 4 areas that were affected: Miracle Beach, Royston, Cumberland, and Huban. So at Miracle Beach to date, work has been completed to transfer spaces within the school into classroom spaces. The computer room has been converted into a student support center. The former student support center has been transformed back to classrooms, and the computer lab has been replaced with mobile carts, computer carts, which can be brought into classrooms for student use. As well, the school was closed for all incoming cross-boundary transfers, and we appear to be okay in that school at this point in time. Royston Elementary, planning for an expansion is underway. We are currently working with an architect around the design of the project, and we continue to complete our proposal for the ministry. The installation of 4 modular classrooms and a washroom block has been completed. So if you've traveled to Royston, you'll see the nice new buildings out front. And that school was closed for all incoming cross-boundary transfers. In Cumberland Community School, classroom spaces have been recaptured and existing spaces redesigned. A modular has been installed behind the gym adjacent to the tennis court. Planning for an expansion is underway. And again, as with the Royston project, we're working with an architect and completing the paperwork for the ministry. Our district joined the Cumberland Village Council in a presentation to the Ministry of Education at the fall UBCM, which was very nice to do and well received. And again, Cumberland, the school was closed for all incoming cross-boundary transfers as per the decision last spring. Huban is probably the most interesting one of the bunch. Huban was closed for all incoming cross-boundary transfers this past year. A few students that were in Huban that were cross boundaries decided, based on the decision, that they would move last year, and they moved last year back to their catchment school. However, a lower than expected number of kindergarten students registered. Beauregard had projected 51, and we actually had 38 enrolled. This, coupled with the fact that due to the crisis, the COVID crisis that we faced, many families totaling 56 students chose DL or alternative learning options versus attending Huban. The result was smaller classes and more available space. As a result, our current enrollment at Huban is 334 versus our projection, which was 390. We will continue to monitor this closely, and if we have enough space in the school as we move forward, we may be bringing an updated recommendation to the board with regards to the direction that was provided last year. And again, this is due to several factors that the situation may right-size itself simply by keeping the school closed for incoming boundary, not allowing further cross boundaries. When we look at it, and I had Director Douglas do a bit of a number count here today. So Director, if you can join me on this one, just to make sure I'm getting all the numbers correct. We have currently 32 students, Director Douglas, cross boundaries?
The whole number was 32. 9 of them chose to move away, as you said earlier, leaving 23. So there's 23 students affected at Huban right now, and they range in grades from 1 to 7. And I think what's of real interest is that 2 of them are in grade 7 and they'll be gone. So we'll be down to looking at 21 children that are affected in this decision.
And so when you look at the 21, we may be able to accommodate with some adjustment of spaces depending on because we have lower than normal projected in kindergarten starts. So as I say, as we look at these numbers a little closer, we may be bringing a updated recommendation to the board with regards to the decision that was made this past spring. So we just felt it was important to give the board some information about that at this point, sort of the mid-year point. So that's around the boundary catchment. The last one that I wanted to share with you is one that ironically we talked about, we made a presentation or discussed this with the board last year, and that's around vandalism. During the 2021 school year, the operations department has spent more than $9,000 on vandalism related repairs. For reference, this is more than 50% higher than last year and 3 times as higher than the year before. Incidents in the past 2 months included broken windows and portables at Valley View, broken windows at Isfeld, cracked windows at Courtney Elementary, broken windows at Highland, siding damage at Courtney L and Brooklyn. Again, lots of broken windows, Miracle Beach, some damage at Vanier, break-ins and damage to big toys at Brooklyn Elementary. In addition, we often have some issues with homeless people sleeping on school properties in Courtney, and around the board office maintenance staff being asked to do sweeps of the Courtney schools on Monday morning for drug paraphernalia and garbage. It's been a bit of an issue for us. Our manager of communication, Mary Lee, is working with the school to select some students and parents from Brooklyn to deliver a message to try and encourage our community to help. And we're just asking everyone to just keep an eye open for any types of activities that are occurring around our buildings. It's very disheartening when we're having to channel money to repair damages from vandalism when those funds could be allocated in other spots of the organization and the operation. So we're just asking everyone to help out and help us put an end to the needless vandalism that's occurring. So with that, I will entertain any questions.
Okay, do we have questions?
I just had one quick question. It was for Alan, really.
Sure.
I was just wondering about the Q-band families. Have you reached out to them and let them know that might be happening, or not quite yet, or is sort of today sort of the time that you've just realized this is happening?
No,
it's exciting news.
We have not reached out to the Hugh Band parents because we felt that this was something that the board should know about, and we should be talking to the board first. So that was our process.
Sure, yeah, that's great news.
Yeah, and so we'll monitor this very closely with the number of students returning, and our projections. We'll keep an eye on this and see how we can manage this.
Trustee Caton, did you have a comment?
Well, I was going to ask about the Hugh Band one, but it's already been spoken to. But the other one is dealing with the homeless crisis in the Comox Valley and the homeless situation at our local schools, and with them hanging out there. How we connected with the local resources and local communities in approaching them and saying that we are having an issue with some homeless camping on our school grounds, and maybe their outreach being able to support them so that we don't have that that happening. Because, you know, like, we're just in these times where homelessness is going to be a problematic for ongoing, and maybe working with our like Salvation Army or whoever, the bands, whatever, is maybe having them helping us in supporting those individuals that are choosing to camp out at our school sites, because there's no other place for them to stay at the moment. I'm just wondering if we've looked at that and maybe assisting, because I know the cleanup and all the other, it's cumbersome. It's an ongoing issue that I hate to see expand as some other districts, because once you allow one group there, they tend to multiply.
Yeah, and we're trying to connect with agencies that we can to try and help us in a variety of ways. It's a tough one, and it comes and goes. And Director Hesselgrave, do you have any further?
No, we find it is quite sporadic, but we've had folks camping at Courtney L in the woods around Puntledge, behind Lake Trail as well. And it's quite nomadic. We typically connect with the RCMP if we have a challenge. And there's also certain spots that people gather, just even as simple a thing as cooking an evening meal. As odd as it sounds, there'll be spots that are used on school properties for a number of people to congregate. So we find it very challenging because we get folks that are trying to get into the nooks and crannies of the school to find a spot. So it's it's a risk for our employees as well.
And one of the reasons why I ask is we are creating these beautiful outdoor classrooms, and when you look outside, they're sheltered, they're kind of separated from the school. They're kind of perfect gathering spots for that night person or that dinner or on that one there. And I'm just wondering if those things need to be something to just be careful of in the future, because like I said, the one couple that I've seen people sheltering there when it's raining and miserable. I haven't seen them sleeping overnight. I'm just wondering if that's something that we need to be aware of and just monitor.
I think so. Our experience has been that people tend to want to be in a sort of a well-protected, out of the way space, like honestly kind of under stairs or in stairwells or under ramps, as opposed to in a kind of a public spot. We've had our experience at Arden and Huban is that we don't really have issues with people, spending the night there.
Other comments? So
we should have that ad up on Jet FM hopefully sometime this week.
Yeah.
On air. It's same sort of approach we used in Cumberland with traffic, where we had our students help out, and it's the same type of approach we're going to use here.
Yeah, I think that I've found the information about the vandalism quite concerning, and I think that's an entirely different group, or the motivation in that case is entirely different from the people who are seeking some kind of shelter at night, and especially in these winter conditions. Yeah. It's a bit heartbreaking, but that vandalism piece, I hope that will have some results, and that we really are able to work on trying to get a handle on why is there seem to be this increasing rate and more vandalism, and I'm assuming other public buildings as well, not just the school district. If it's just the school district, we better look at that. And as far as the homelessness and people looking for shelter, I hope that if opportunities arise for us to work with community partners, there just is not enough housing, but people are working very hard on it. There's opportunities, and if there's any ways that we can be supportive as a district, I hope that we'll participate we can offer them a sheltered door. If that's the best we can do, maybe we could actually find ways to work with our community partners to be supporting more than that. So that's a big project to get everybody's house.
And we would agree, the vandalism is a primary concern. It's the one that's the senseless damage to property and the theft that's occurred at Brooklyn. The packs work so hard, and for sea cans to be broken into, or storage areas to be broken into, and it's quite disturbing. So we're hoping that this will help just raise awareness of that and try and deal with that.
Excellent strategy. Could I ask a follow-up question to the Huban numbers? If Beauregard was the expectation on our kindergarten intake was so much higher, do we have any insight into why it might have been so off? And was it something that happened in other school districts as well? Is it just Huban, or are we looking at similar either over or unders in our kinder intake elsewhere? And if you don't have that information at this point, perhaps at a future meeting.
Sure, yeah, we'll look into it a little more in depth. I can tell you that some of the numbers, the projections, some of those students may have chosen a different type of learning. They may have chosen kindergarten through DL or school or that type of learning arrangement. In any given year, it's interesting how we'll see Beauregard will make a projection of numbers, and we'll have lower Ks in one area and increased in another. And it doesn't, the overall number of the district balances, but it's specific areas. In this case here, with what happened with the crisis that we're going through is really throwing everything off kilter a bit in terms of the predictability of our numbers. And so, as we say, we had 56 families choosing a different type of learning from U-Band. So that contributed to it. But we'll be looking into those numbers a little closer, because that'll help form if we come back to the board with an updated recommendation based on what we're seeing.
Okay. Any more comments? No,
Just one thing to add, Chair McDonald, is that we also remember cut off cross-boundary applications to Hugh-Band. And in the past, we were accepting them. So that would probably add it to the lower numbers of case, I would assume.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you. Interesting update. What have you got for us next?
And next, I'm going to ask Director Douglas to comment a little bit on early learning.
Well, thank you very much through you, Madam Chair. If I could thank everybody, first of all, for the opportunity. I know we have lots of people that tune into our board meetings, and to give you information as well as the people in the community about our early learning initiatives. And I'd like to begin by saying that Jackie Anderson's our lead teacher, and we've been very fortunate to have her working in early learning alongside with me, and Jackie's been doing a great job. Strong Start is a 0 to 5 program. So lots of times people think, well, you know, school starts at kindergarten, our school district, but we're a 0 to 5, and we have, as I said in the briefing note, we have 4 permanent Strong Start centers and 1 rotating one. I've indicated the schools with the permanent centers, and when I say that, what I mean is they have dedicated rooms, and that program stays there. Courtneyelle, Quinish, Brooklyn, and Cumberland. And then we have a rotating one. So we're at Royston 2 days a week, Aspen 2 days a week, Puntledge Park 1 day a week. And that's so that we can get around with early learning programs to lots of areas in our community. Every year we ask government for more Strong Starts, and every year they say, you have your allocation. And so we try and stretch them as best we can. All of our Strong Start centers are staffed with early childhood educators. And it was very robust prior to COVID, very busy places. And when COVID hit, it really made us rethink. So our Strong Start facilitators have been doing a lot of outreach in community and outdoor play areas. And we just started with face-to-face restart at the beginning of November. Josh helped us immensely develop a booking system. So it's a very controlled environment for families, 4 adults and their families at a time. They book, they come in with a Strong Start facilitator. The adults wear a mask, all the hand washing, all the hand sanitizing. They don't go to the gym. And they do that for an hour and a half. And we're not reaching all the families we did before, but we are reaching many families through this. One little thing in your briefing note at the last point where Friday was reserved for an outdoor day where we increased the numbers, the new health restrictions, we can't do that now. So we've made Friday another day where 4 people can book to come in. And until Bonnie Henry changes the restrictions, we're just not going to have people gathering. So that's what's happening in Strong Start. And I wanted to bring your attention to 2 other provincial initiatives that we're involved in. Changing results for young children. We're in Cumberland and Courtney Elementary. And this involves our K teachers, Strong Start, and community ECEs, where we're focusing on social emotional learning, and we're studying a K child. We have a provincial facilitator that comes and works with us, and we're involved with 2 other school districts, Parksville, Qualicum, and Powell River. And on the other side of that briefing note, this SEY2K, they have all these acronyms. It's strengthening early years to K transitions. Lots of times we say, if we could just have known you know, the kids before they came, and we could have done some work with their families. This is our attempt at doing that. So we're at Courtney L, and we're in Cumberland. And what's happening is our Strong Start and our early childhood educators, our community educators, and our K teachers are going and reaching out to the early learning centers and making those connections before they come to school. And we're finding really great success. We were going great guns last year until COVID hit, but those projects have continued this year, and they're both funded by the Ministry of Education. And lastly, connections project. So if you think about the north part of our district, we're talking about Black Creek, Miracle Beach. They kind of lump airport into that as well in the Hugh Band area. There are not a lot of early learning programs in the north area. There's not a lot of community centers. And so what we've been looking at as an early learning collaborative is how we can increase those early learning activities for families in that area. And so we've been working with the collaborative. It's got the attention through us asking for funding from the Community Foundation, and they have funded this initiative to do this work. And they were so impressed with our first year of it that they've asked to continue funding it for the next 3 years and for us to scale it across the Comox Valley. So the Community Foundation is really valuing the early learning and the early learning work. And I just wanted to make sure that you understood that or had an awareness of what that program looked like and what we were attempting to do. So in the connections, we've been doing our community meetings, we've been doing our survey work, and we're now launching into the planning. So lots of early learning stuff. At some point in the future, I think it would be wonderful if you wanted to have Jackie come and talk about these programs at an education committee meeting, we could do that. And I now say, is there any questions? I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions, Trustee? Trustee Wade.
Thank you. My question is, I understand that we have 4 permanent Strong Start Center locations.
Right.
And that it looks like the two programs, the Changing Results for Young Children and the Strengthening Early Years to Kindergarten, they're both at Cumberland and Courtney L, and we have permanent Strong Start in those schools as well. Are those programs linked together? And and will those other programs move to different schools?
So great question. And thank you so much. I tried to answer it before you got to the second part, so sorry about that. They are linked. The Strong Start facilitators are involved in our projects. We started somewhere, and so we started with those two schools. Cumberland is the fastest growing community, we think, in our area, with lots of young children. So we really want to do the project there. And the second one is we really wanted to do it on the west side at Courtney Elementary. And so if these programs continue, we will certainly stop and reflect and say, okay, should we take it somewhere else? Because I understand I think what your question is you have Strong Start there, and you're also doing these provincial projects there, and there's some schools that we're not hitting. And could we hit there? Yes, that's a possibility. Does that answer your question, Trustee?
It was close. I was more of just a trying to build my awareness,
okay.
And trying to find the linkages and then just learning if these were new, which I think you answered, and then do they move around? So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Trustee Howe.
I just wanted to thank you for all the effort that's been put into this initiative. I'm excited to hear that the funding is going to be carrying on for quite some time. And Alan, am I right in just mentioning that these Strong Start centers are not only open to the community members in the immediate vicinity of these locations, parents are allowed to go to these Strong Starts and be from another part of the community, correct?
Yes, Trustee Howe. So Strong Start works this way. There's no set starting time. So if you get up that morning and your child is not ready to come at 9 o'clock in the morning and you don't get there till 9:30, that's fine. We will welcome you with a smile on our face whenever you get there. And if you can't come to the one in Cumberland because you live there but work in the one close to Brooklyn, you can go to Brooklyn Strong Start. So they're open to, yes, people from anywhere in the district can go to whatever one they want to, and they do.
Yeah, that's great. I just wanted to highlight the flexibility there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Am I right in thinking that those two programs are the provincial programs are pilots and they're collecting research on the effectiveness of these strategies? Is that part of what's going on? So that if they are successful, we would potentially see more support for them?
That's what we're hoping. We're part of the pilot. Not every school district in the province has changing results for young children or SCY2K, and very few have both. We're one of the chosen ones that were able to have both of the programs. And so we submit our data that the teachers collect for us and the community ECEs do to a researcher. And the researcher is working with the Ministry of Education. And we're hoping this is year 2 with these projects. We're hoping that the work will come out and show that this are great programs, and we'll see year 3, year 4. Because when I mentioned the ongoing funding, that's for the Connections project, the last one on the paper, not these two.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Any other comments? Yeah, I also want to thank you for all of this, for this information and this work, and your suggestion about possibly having a presentation to us. I think it might be very timely for us to revisit the whole EDI program, the early years indicator, early development indicator, which I think some of our new trustees may not be as familiar with, and look at what the results were saying, and maybe a bit of a revisit about the measures that the district's been taken to address some of the indicators. And so hopefully at you know, in the next after in January onward, we'll have a chance possibly to put that one on as a topic that would really result in some information and good conversation for us as a board. So thank you very much, Director Douglas. If we're ready now to move on, Assistant Superintendent, do you have any last minute thing? You're saying nothing to report, but we're always happy to hear from you. Then we'll move on to our new Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you, Chairperson McDonald. I appreciate the welcome at the start of the board meeting. I'm very excited to be attending my first board meeting with SD71. And Mary Lee and I are working on an article and a podcast that we'll put up on the website just to introduce the community to myself and my work history and how I came to be in this lovely part of the province. I'm so appreciative that you have placed your trust in me for this position, and I look forward to serving you in this role very much. So, you know, it's unfortunate, I guess, in these COVID times that we can't meet face to face for my first board meeting. And unfortunately, my last board meeting with SD60 had to be virtual as well. So I guess we're on a trend, unfortunately, but soon, hopefully, we'll be able to get back to face-to-face meetings. And but at least we have the opportunity to meet this way and continue the important work that we do as a district. So thank you very much. I look forward to working with you, and we'll see how things develop as far as COVID's concerned. The next item on my report is I just wanted to give trustees an update around the by-election. So we have Clyde Woolley looking after the as our chief electoral officer, and he's doing a great job with running the by-election. So we had 6 candidates file their paperwork, and nobody withdrew by the date for withdrawal, which was November 13th. So the 6 candidates are advancing to the election process. So the general voting day is going to be Saturday, December 12th. We have our first advance polling on December 2nd, and that is going to be at the Merville Hall from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then we have the second advance polling on Thursday, December 10th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the school board office. And then the general voting day will be Saturday, December 12th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Nides Navigate School. And so you trustees will notice that we're having some news articles and advertisements that are in the paper, as well as we're seeing radio ads, etc. And so, and I just wanted to remind the general public that an eligible person to vote is somebody that's lived in BC for at least 6 months before the general voting day and has lived in the electoral area C for 30 days prior to the general voting day. And they would need to provide proof of residency in order to be able to vote. So they must bring 2 documents. So that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'll just also put out that the DPAC are hosting an information session online on November 30th, I believe. And I'm hoping that people will take the opportunity to listen to the candidates. And I certainly hope that the voters in Area C will get out and make a good choice and give us an extra colleague at the table, delegate some meetings to them. We're looking forward to that, I know. Thank you very much. And now we can move to Human Resources, Retirement and Recognition.
Yeah, there is one retirement to announce tonight. And we had quite a few last month, but only one tonight, and that is Louise Ellis. And Louise is a teacher at Cumberland Community School and will be retiring quite soon, December 31st, 2020, after 40 years of service with the district. And we wish Louise all the best for her 2021 and onward, and thank her for her service.
Thank you very much, Trustee Waite. And there will be some sort of recognition celebration at the end of the school year, perhaps in person. Thank you very much. Now we have the Finance Committee, a report from a meeting in, oh, you've had several meetings. Trustee Frawley, would you take the?
Oops. Hang on. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
I've lost, can you guys see me?
We can see you and hear you.
Okay, oh, there we go. My screen just went blank. Okay. So November 17th, we had our Finance Committee, and there's a recommendation that the Board of Education receive the Finance Committee Board Report as presented. And it's in our package there on page 29.
On mine, it says that the date was October 19th, so I think that we'll have to get that corrected.
Are you looking at the previous months?
If you keep going, Sheila, in the package, it looks like we have October 19th and November 17th in the board package. At least that's what I heard. So page 33 of the board package. Oh no, not page 33. Or am I looking at this wrong?
No, that's facilities.
No.
All right, it's just I believe it's just an error in the date, because certainly I identifies the correct information and the capital update of October 31st. So sorry about that. If you want to proceed, Trustee Frawley, do you have any of the things you'd like to highlight about your deliberations and recommendations here?
No, there was nothing major. It was just a minor adjustment, and there's a briefing note attached to that. And so because our Secretary Treasurer wasn't here at that point, I would refer it over to our Director of Finance, Candace Hilton, if anyone has any questions regarding it.
Well, are there any questions from trustees regarding the report from the Finance Committee? Okay, I don't see any. I appreciate this work. Good to see the capital fund update and all the work that we're doing, and the audit a correction. If there's nothing else, then I would move that we accept the. No, I will ask. You would like to move to accept the finance committee report.
So
Should I have a motion?
yeah, so a recommendation that the Board of Education receive our finance report as presented.
Seconded. Trustee Howe, all in favor? Thank you very much. Next item, the Facilities Committee report.
Great. Thank you very much, Chairperson McDonald. So there's a couple of things under the facilities report tonight, and the first one is a school district partnership with the town of Comox for a dog park at Comox Elementary, and I'm going to ask through the Secretary Treasurer for our Director of Operations to provide us with some information on this initiative.
Thanks, Trustee Waite. I received a letter from the town of Comox requesting to formalize the use of Comox Elementary. I think this is a great opportunity. It's been informally used as a dog park for many, many years, and there's really 3 pieces of property there. And part of what they want, it's highlighted and read in the briefing note, is a section of the field, and it would entail the town of Comox putting some fence up, proper receptacles for bags, and doing some maintenance work on that field. And I went and walked the field and had a good look at it. And, you know, I'm pretty close contact with my colleagues from the town of Comox, and it's getting rough. You know, there's some divots and patches that need to be repaired, and we frankly do very little maintenance work there other than a little bit of grass cutting. So I just think it's a really good opportunity for partnership. That property is underutilized right now, and I think it formalizes some presence on our sites, when I think that's a good thing to have the public there. And I believe it's a good partnership for us that with the proper agreement in place won't impede any future development or tie us into something that would bind us in any way.
Questions, Trustee Caton?
So I think the idea of a dog park is excellent, because I know that the town of Comox has talked about having a place for dogs to go and roam and have fun. My issue, and I didn't see it on there, is the liability side, because it is our property. We are working in partnership with them, and I think it's a great idea. But for me, it's the liability concern and issues. And at the end of the day, who's responsible for that if an incident happens on that between a dog or another dog and a human person? So that would be my ask.
I can respond to that one. In there, it's we've agreed that the town of Comox would indemnify School District 71, and we'd be a named insured. We have a similar agreement with them in place right now. The Brooklyn Outdoor Classroom is on town of Comox property, adjacent property, and they had exactly the same concern, and we just enter into a memorandum of agreement, and it would be the similar situation here to protect the school district.
Other questions? Trustee Waite?
I'd just like to share this discussion was raised at our facilities committee meeting by Trustee Frawley about the liability piece. So it's great that it's on many of our minds to do our due diligence with the district. I did want to share that it feels like this also fits in our strategic priority under community engagement. And this is a piece of property that we're not using well right now. So on behalf of the committee, we have a recommendation, and the recommendation is that the Board of Education direct staff to work with the town of Comox staff to create an agreement for a dog park at Comox Elementary.
I have a second for that. Trustee Frawley, thank you. I before voting, I don't know if are there any other questions? I had two. One, is the town envisioning some kind of consultation and regarding access parking? Is that going to be an issue? Have they already done some of that work? And the other question was just you said that this isn't necessarily bind us, and your report mentions that this would be an ideal location in the interim. This is a property which potentially, has other uses at some point. That what kind of time frame would you be thinking of? Would this come back to the facilities committee as just a heads up before something's actually signed?
I think what we would do is we would definitely run the agreement. I'd work with the secretary treasurer on the agreement. I think typically our municipal agreements run for 5 years, and I've seen them anywhere from 1 year to 20, depending on what it is. But I think what we really will be careful about is around our get out clause, and that we have exactly the same concerns with the town around things like the Brooklyn Outdoor Classroom, and we partnered with them on a lot of things, and they're well aware that property could become something for us, and in our just very preliminary discussions was we're not going to nail ourselves down into something, and I think what the upside of this is we can create a smart agreement that will easily allow us to maneuver in another direction, and I think it will actually formalize something that's de facto happening, because the community in that area has spent a fair bit of time, and I get calls from the local community members as well, generally when we're having trouble with the garbages and things. And in fact, I already have an informal agreement with the town of Comox where they empty those garbages right now, because it's typically their citizens using it as a park. So we it's I think we're well protected in this one, and it's just a good step forward for us.
Well, that's excellent. So any other comments? So anyone opposed to this recommendation? I see nobody, then that's carried. And we have another recommendation?
I do, thank you. I will ask again through the Secretary Treasurer to the Director of Operations that they share some of the information that's included in our report tonight regarding, I'd say it's the exciting news about the outdoor classroom project.
Okay, happy to do so. It is great news. Through the federal funding and the focus on outdoor learning and that being really recognized as I think we look at this and say, if there's upsides to the changes we've experienced in the last few months, this is one of them. We're getting people outside and doing things and approaching challenges in a different way. And we've been on a bit of a journey the last 7 or 8 years with outdoor classrooms. We've had some successes and some challenges. And right now we have a few. We have really nice covered structures at Huban and Arden. We have other forms of outdoor classrooms at Rod Road and Brooklyn and Quaniche and Aspen. And I think, we've learned each time we've undertaken an outdoor classroom with a PAC and a school community, it's been an interesting consultative process, and we've learned a lot of good lessons. And so, that kind of informs our next step, which is the goal, that's come to me through the superintendent around, let's get outdoor learning possibilities into every school. And so the first step on that is to get some outdoor classrooms in place at a number of other schools. And there's goals in there. We want these to be a design that captures the lessons of the past, so that it's easy to maintain, simple to fabricate, is flexible, will hold a class, and it's gonna stand the test of time. So we moved forward with the project with local firms. So we've ended up, Island Timber Firm's going to create a structure, and Mushlat Projects is going to install it. And it's really exciting. We're going to be putting, where it seemed in the past to take us 2 years to get one classroom, we're going to get 5 classrooms in 1 year. And there's also an opportunity in terms of economies of scale for us to potentially do some other work with other schools that may have some desire to move forward with, be it PAC funding or school funding. So we're keeping that in mind. And we've also, there's been some good communication through the superintendent and others to through his network and mine to other districts, and Gulf Islands was interested, and there's and in fact we have a district that's going to probably use exactly the same plan and the same manufacturers, and that again just sort of drives the unit cost down. And there's a couple of renderings in there, and it's just, they're bright and open, and I think these are, this is what the schools want. They want a place where they can get outside and do some learning and occasionally get out of the rain, and I think it's a really good tie-in to all the things we're trying to do in the district, and it's had a really firm nudge. And so in terms of timeline, they're being fabricated. So we're hoping that Island Timber Frame will have these all of the packages put together in January, and then it'll be a question of, there's been lots of consultative work with the principals and staff around where would be the best site on the school property, and to get cracking and start those installs in February so that they're using them this year. We would love to have them all done before spring break. So that's kind of where we're aiming right now with outdoor classrooms, and it's very exciting project.
Thank you. Any questions? Comments from other trustees? Trustee Howe.
That is really exciting news, and I think that I've even seen what it might look like, and they're quite beautiful. So it's something that the district and everyone should be quite proud of. It's a really exciting plan that Tom set into motion, and yeah, it'll be really neat to see everyone in the district be able to enjoy them at every location.
Trustee Cable?
I was just going to suggest that in the next month or two, BCSD will call for proposals for presentations for Academy, and outdoor education is a provincial initiative. The school districts are coming to our district asking us what we're doing, and I'm wondering maybe if through you, the chair and superintendent, is when that ask comes up for presentations, is our district puts in a proposal sharing how we took the money from the federal grant, we've implemented in providing outdoor education. This is a legacy for our district, and other districts are looking at us. I think that showcasing the great work that our district and our staff, especially Ian, our director of operations, has done, I think would be a really worthwhile presentation from other districts. I know when I go to presentations, stuff like this really has an impact, and trustees and other secretary treasurers and superintendents want to know what's going on and how they implement it. So I think that we should consider that when that ask comes up. And as the BCST rep, when I see that, I will forward it to you, Madam Chair, with the superintendent to put it in a proposal.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Trustee Wade.
I'd like to add on this piece is that, again, this is part of our strategic priorities under environmental stewardship to provide outdoor learning opportunities. So I'm also pleased that it ties in nicely with some of our foundational pillars that we're working towards.
Absolutely, it's a great project. It's so, really making headway and responding to the interest at the schools. When I think that taking this information now for all of us to be taking it into the various PACs that we're connecting with, and also hoping that the consultation that was done, I know the team did a lot of work on coming up with this plan, but including the students themselves and the parents at these schools. And most of the time it's been our PACs working really hard for a lot of years to try and pull something together. And this time we're coming forward with something for them, but around placement and around use, they'll have lots of, we want to make it feel like it belongs to them as well as to the school. So I know that you'll take that going forward when you start the implementation part. We, for some reason, do have a lot of parents that like to get out and help dig and hammer, and do all that work too. So I don't know if there may not be a place for them in here, but maybe in the landscaping component or something like that, there's room for them to be involved. And I think you have one more item to report to.
I do. Well, it's actually maybe 1.5, because if the Director of Operations will indulge me one more time, we have a great capital projects update, but I was wondering if there's anything in particular that you would like to highlight for us in the report.
Well, I think there's two things. The roof is on the gym at Hornby Island School, and that actually happened. That was a hallelujah moment. The school is watertight, so that's pretty exciting. And the timber framing is clearly visible. So, you know, that the school is really moving along well. And you know, the pride is evident amongst the kids and the contractor and the community. And I want to share one little story. So Alan Fletcher and I, of course, who is the construction manager, and he happens to be taking a direct interest in project managing this, or we discuss regularly, let's say on a weekly basis. Well, you may not know, but he's a very avid mountain biker. He does a lot of trail building on Hornby, and he was there grinding away, building a trail. And he happened to be working with a couple of community members, and one of them was a young lady who's an avid mountain biker and was kind of between jobs. And he had said to her, well, you know what? I've got a couple of weeks where we're putting a decking on the roof and I need some labor. And one of the other folks that was working is a retired contractor from Vancouver who had settled on Hornby. And so they worked on the trail, and the person took him up on coming to work. And as they were walking away, the fellow who's a retired contractor from Vancouver sort of tugged on Alan's sleeve and said, you know, I'd like to come and work on the project too, if that opportunity is open. So, you know, I just think it's just one of those things that the community has full and unequivocal buy-in. You know, and not only do they want the school and they're seeking that community center, they're proud of it. And so I think that's just, it's fabulous. You know, so those are, you get these little tidbits every once in a while that really, you know, fit the community and fit kind of what's going on there. So I thought, so that's really neat. That project's going very well. And I know the superintendent, secretary, treasurer are getting a tour tomorrow, which should be really fun. You might want to bring your gum boots along. It's and the other that I think is really worth highlighting is our Denman project as well. That's exciting. It's moving along. It's again getting to that place where it's watertight, and it's quickly going to be done. You know, we're going to be into the new year, and we're going to have a licensed childcare facility, the only licensed childcare facility on the island, which will have twice the capacity of what we presently have. And it's just a good news story. Again, you know, it really feeds into our connection to the community, and I think that's a wonderful thing. So it's been, you know, these have been a bit of a journey given COVID, but we have some projects that are really, I think, enhancing our community and really great for the district. So unless there's any questions on kind of the big four that are going now, and I suppose the outdoor classrooms would maybe be the first. Happy to answer them.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. It's good news about the roof. If you knew how much rain there was this morning, yeah. That roof just in time, it was pretty bad. And yes, it is quite exciting on Hornby to see the building. You may think that you have project supervisors, but I can tell you that it is the students at the Hornby preschool who are pretty much over there every day making sure that things are going well.
Absolutely.
Through the fence. It's quite exciting. So thank you very much. Yeah. And do we have any more, or are there any questions for Ian at this point?
Maybe
Trustee
questions.
Wait, you've brought us a lot today.
I just wanted to make sure there weren't any questions before I move to the recommendation. No? Okay, so the recommendation is that the Board of Education receive the Facilities Committee Board report as presented.
And seconded, Trustee Hawksby. We've got you in first. Thank you very much. Anyone opposed? No, thank you very much. That's passed. Great work. Lots going on there. Our next item is the Policy Committee Board Report, and we'll be back to
Me
Trustee
again. Sorry, everyone. It's me again. So there's a fair bit from the meeting that we had on November the 3rd, and the first 4 items are regarding administrative procedures, and I'm wondering if the superintendent or the superintendent was at the meeting, so and the administrative procedures start from the superintendent down. So would you like to maybe highlight why these were brought forward and the types of changes?
Sure, these were changes that our former Secretary Treasurer was working on, and these are just to reflect change in either language and to make it congruent with some of our practices and policies. And so the content and the intent of the APs hasn't changed. It's just reflecting the change in language and some of the terminology. So that's the four APs.
And before I continue through our chairperson, just checking to see if there's any questions on that before I move forward. No questions? Okay. All right. So then the next part of the policy committee report or meeting was that we reviewed the motion that was brought forward on September the 1st, requesting that the policy committee review and suggest changes to our regular board meetings and the voting requirements for extending the length of time in our board meetings. So our committee did meet on this topic, and we did create a recommendation. We haven't brought it forward to the board tonight to vote on as a formal recommendation. Our suggestion is that we wait until our board is up to our full complement of 7 trustees before we have that discussion. But all of the information is in the report from the policy committee. And Sheila, you're on mute.
Yes. My daughter was making a cup of tea and talking to someone with her headphones, so I was like, what? Yes, great. Thank you very much. You've done lots of good work for us. Are there any comments from other trustees? I don't see any hands up. I think that's a good recommendation to wait on this policy. Gives us a chance to think about this and do it with our full group. I appreciate that very much.
Okay, well, seeing no hands or questions, then the recommendation is that the Board of Education receive the policy committee board report as presented.
Second, Trustee Hawksby, thank you. Anyone opposed? Nobody, then that's approved. Thank you so much for all of you on the policy committee for your hard work. Thank you. And we move to board business, which I see is none. But I also want to say this has been a bit of a quiet meeting from some of you. If any of you have something you'd like to say, I'm going to offer the opportunity of board business if you'd like to share anything with us. I don't see it, but that you can't say you didn't get the opportunity, and we've actually done lots of good work coming to us in that format. So that's great. Board correspondence is next. In your package, there's a letter from the to the school board from the Solon River Restoration Society. It's a group that does a lot of environmental work, and they do work with our various teachers in educational capacity. I'm not sure if all of you have had the chance to read this in full, but they are expressing concerns about Towie Creek, which flows from the it's a spring that comes up in the Oak Grove area above the Vanier property and flows down across our property and then down to the regional district's property. And it is a salmon bearing stream. It's quite exciting to see salmon coming back there. And they give a whole, a bit of a history there on the coho coming through and the importance of that creek, and have some concerns about its the risks to it from activities in all of those properties, but certainly, and I know that Director Hesselgrave is very aware of that property and the work that they do in our maintenance area and Vanier during the construction, but part of the creek flows through the area where the CBRD have a lease for the arena, the skating rink. And so there's a parking lot, and all of these things cause a certain amount of risk from time to time to the creek. So the Solom River Restoration Society has said that they would be interested in participating in future discussions on the portion of the Towie Creek watershed owned by SD 71 and would like to be kept informed of opportunities for input. Were there any questions from anyone regarding this letter?
Chair McDonald, if the superintendent will allow me, I can give you, I have a couple of comments on the letter.
Yes, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah, it is. We're quite good contact with the Solom River Restoration Society. And I think there's one real key sentence in here in the Solom River Restoration Society. We'd like to see the forest up the slope on the SD 71 property left intact to continue its important ecological service of sustaining Towie Creek and the fish and wildlife that depend upon it. And that's the story of the properties above the maintenance yard. And I think we're fully supportive of that. And one of the things that we have arranged is Current Environmental. They have really good experience in headwater protection, which is most of the headwaters from Towie Creek are seepage through the forest that feed into the creek. And so we're through Current Environmental, we're arranging a meeting for the next couple of weeks where we'll walk with the Restoration Society and Current Environmental on that piece of property. That's the forest land, just to have a peek at it to see if we have any kind of gotchas right now. Because we have been in fairly good contact, and I think it really, again, feeds nicely into what we're attempting to do, with that property, having protected a large portion of it with the city and just holding that other one right now. So we're going to set something up to have a wander with them to make sure that we're all kind of on the same page.
Well, that's great news. Yeah, now some of the trustees wouldn't be aware that that property, a substantial portion of it, was transferred to the city of Courtenay as a park. And we had some discussions about whether more would be transferred or the creation of a joint restoration plan. There was some work done to identify sensitive habitat, and the land trust was involved. I'm just thinking that is this unfinished work that you might be thinking of bringing back again to consider, depending on the outcome of this walk then.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll certainly make some notes, and it really fits into our environmental assessment of all SD 71 properties, which is ongoing. And I think there's one more season to collect data from, and then the reports will be done. And either at the late in this school year or early next school year, there'll be a fulsome report through to the board that around all our environmentally sensitive properties. So it's a good piece of it.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Any questions, any comments on this? We'll leave it to Director Hesselgreif to report back when he has something to report. That's excellent. And then two other items of correspondence, which were letters of congratulations to our MLAs after the election. A suggestion from Trustee Caton at the previous meeting. Following the finalization of that, we did send letters to both Josie Osborne and Ronna Ray Leonard, and just expressing our hopes that we'll be working well in future with them. We've always had quite a lot of support from our MLAs for our district initiatives. Yes, Trustee Wade?
And it's perfect timing because they were sworn in today. And it was exciting to watch the swearing in ceremony, and we only have 2 more sleeps before we know who the ministers will be, if there's any changes, and who fills the vacancies.
An interesting online ceremony, very interesting.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
All right, so I don't think we need to do anything related to that. Are there any questions or comments from other trustees? Then we could move on to question period. Did we have any questions submitted to us? No. Trustee Caton.
Okay, I have a question regarding the swearing in of the trustee once they're elected. I wonder if through you, Madam Chair, the Secretary Treasurer, because I'm looking at the date in our next board meeting, I'm wondering what the plans are to, when the election happens, the process in swearing in, because we never really talked about that as a board, because we will have to connect as a board to welcome our new member. That was, sorry, I should have asked earlier when the Secretary Treasurer spoke, and I had written it down, but my mind at work was just too much today, sorry.
No, that's fine. It's important to clarify it, if you would.
Thank you for that question. So I believe the swearing in is outlined in the School Act as far as a by-election and elections and the length of time. So I believe that we've set January 12th as the date for the swearing in. And currently, of course, that would probably be an online ceremony similar to what was done today. And but I guess we'll see what happens at the time and how the caseload is and what the current provincial health officer and our local health officer recommendations are around that. So I believe though that the 12th is the date that is set aside for the swearing in once the election happens. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that did answer my question, because when maybe reason is other people were asking, well, do they come to the next board meeting? Are they sworn in? I think having that clarified in statement that, no, this is a date, because I think there's a process that has to go through, and understanding that January the 12th is just out there on the record. That's what I was asking for. Thank you.
I think there is a delay because of potential challenges, or so they can't be sworn in time to attend the meeting on the 15th as a board member. They're
right.
Welcome to attend though, but not as
that information has been shared with all the candidates.
Great.
Yes.
Good question, Trustee Caton. Anything else? Well, I believe, yes, Trustee Howe.
I had someone just contact me while I was on this call. And maybe if you could just clear this up, Tom. There's recently been in the news talk about extensions of the December break and COVID procedures and what is happening in other provinces and what it looks like in our province. Do you mind just quickly?
Nope. There's been lots of speculation, and I know I was just before our meeting today, I was trying to read the Alberta, what happened to our neighbors next door, and they've taken a different approach. At this point in time, there has been nothing from the provincial health officer or the Ministry of Education around extending break at all. It's business as usual. The protocol that came down from the PHO just on Tuesday, I guess, there was lots of restrictions. Our restrictions in the school are as they were before. In terms of the mask policy, it's the same thing that we were operating beforehand. Nothing has changed from that aspect of it. We continue to monitor it, and we sent information out to all our sites. Our Director of Health and Safety, Paul Berry, sent it out, just reminding people of what our practice is. But we, of course, will keep everybody informed. Should there be any changes over the next days, we will communicate that directly with families. There won't be any worries about that appearing, not knowing. If there are any changes to our current status, we will make sure that we get that information out to everyone.
Thanks so much, Tom.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. I believe I would be able to entertain a motion to adjourn. Trustee Wade, second Trustee Howe. Anyone opposed? No, seeing none, and I do believe we're adjourned. I appreciate your time, all of you being here, and yeah, thank you very much.